For most of his life, Daniel was tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix, but the quiet, deep exhaustion that comes from always trying to be enough for everyone else. He was a performer, and the world was his stage, though he never felt like he truly owned his role. In conversations, he worked hard to sound intelligent, even when he was lost. He'd string together impressive-sounding words, hoping no one would see through the facade. He wore clothes that felt restrictive and unnatural, simply because they projected an image of success. He forced laughter at jokes he didn't find funny, the sound hollow even to his own ears. He nodded in agreement when every fiber of his being wanted to say no. And every night, after the curtain fell and the applause, real or imagined, faded away, he would sit in the silence of his apartment and feel an overwhelming emptiness. The person everyone else saw was a carefully constructed character, and the real Daniel was buried so deep he barely recognized himself anymore. He operated on a simple, flawed belief that respect came from approval, that love was earned by being liked, and that his value was measured by how much others admired him. So he kept performing, day after day, polishing his act, hoping it would one day feel real. At work, he'd stay late, long after his tasks were done. It wasn't about productivity. It was about being seen as dedicated, as the last one to leave the office. With friends, he'd insist on paying for expensive dinners he couldn't really afford, playing the part of the generous, successful friend. In his relationships, he meticulously hid his true thoughts and feelings, terrified that a moment of genuine honesty would sever the connection he so desperately craved. And on the surface, it worked. People liked him. They saw him as dependable, smart, and generous. But it was a shallow affection, because no one really knew him. They liked the character, not the man. One rainy evening, after another long day of performing, Daniel found himself in a small, quiet cafe. The gentle tap of raindrops against the window pane was the only sound, creating a peaceful atmosphere that made his own thoughts feel deafeningly loud. He ordered a coffee and just sat, watching the world outside blur through the wet glass. At the table next to him sat an old man, engrossed in a worn-out book, sipping his tea with a slow, deliberate calmness. For a while, they sat in comfortable silence. Then, the old man looked up, his eyes kind, and offered a soft smile. "You look tired," he said, his voice gentle. Daniel managed a polite, practiced laugh. "Just busy," he replied, the automatic response rolling off his tongue. The old man nodded slowly, his gaze perceptive. "Busy trying to be someone?" The question hit Daniel with unexpected force. It was so direct, so accurate. It felt as if the man had peered directly into his soul. "I spent most of my life trying to impress people," the man continued, his voice now a quiet confession, as if he was reading Daniel's own mind. "I thought if I could just get everyone to like me, to admire me, I would finally be happy. And one day, I realized something painful." Daniel leaned in, his own exhaustion making him desperate for the answer. "What?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The old man met his eyes. "That no matter how hard you try, you will always disappoint someone. The banker, the baker, your neighbor, your boss, even your own family. It's impossible to please them all, so the question isn't, how can I impress everyone? The real question is, who are you willing to disappoint?" Those words echoed in Daniel's mind long after he left the cafe. He walked home slowly, the rain having stopped. For the first time in years, he didn't pull out his phone to scroll through feeds of other people's curated lives. Instead, he listened to the sound of his own footsteps on the damp pavement. He noticed the rhythm of his own breathing, the cool night air filling his lungs. And in that quiet, simple walk, something fundamental inside him began to shift. The next day at work, when his boss asked him to stay late for a non-urgent task, Daniel's heart began to race. The old impulse to immediately agree screamed at him. But he took a breath, and for the first time, he said, "I can't tonight, but I'll get to it first thing in the morning." His voice was steady, and the world didn't end. His boss simply nodded and said, "Okay." It was a small act of rebellion, but it felt monumental. He started small. He stopped laughing at jokes that weren't funny, offering a simple smile instead. Some people noticed. A few seemed put off by the change, but most didn't even register it. He began wearing clothes that felt comfortable, trading the impressive but stiff suits for soft sweaters and well-worn jeans. He started speaking less in meetings, but when he did speak, it was with more honesty and conviction. The performance was ending, and the real Daniel was tentatively stepping onto the stage. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, something unexpected began to happen. The constant buzzing noise inside his head, the one that analyzed every word and action, began to quiet down. The frantic energy he'd spent on maintaining his image started to return to him, filling him with a sense of calm he hadn't felt since childhood. Some people, the ones who were only friends with the character he played, started to drift away. Their invitations became less frequent, their conversations more strained. It stung, but it also felt liberating. But others stayed, and new people came into his life. They were drawn not to his performance, but to his authenticity. They didn't stay because he tried to impress them, but because he was real. They liked him for his quiet honesty, his quirky interests, his actual unfiltered thoughts. And for the first time, Daniel felt light, truly light. He realized that peace doesn't come from being admired. It comes from being aligned with your own values, your own needs, your own truth. It's not about being liked by everyone. It's about being known and accepted by the right people, starting with yourself. When you stop trying to impress everyone, you don't become invisible. You become free. Free to rest when you are tired. Free to choose what feels right for you. Free to be exactly who you are, without apology and without explanation. That was the moment Daniel's life changed. It didn't get louder or more exciting or more glamorous. In fact, from the outside, it probably looked much simpler. But it got calmer. It got real. And for the first time, that was more than enough. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content that explores the quieter, more meaningful parts of life. See you in the next video.